It was one of those quiet winter mornings when the world feels both peaceful and lonely at the same time. The kind of morning where steam rises gently from coffee cups and old memories seem to come alive with every breath of cold air. Ethan was holding his little daughter Lily by the hand as they crossed the street toward their favorite cafe, the one that smelled of roasted beans and fresh pastries. The cafe had always been their weekend ritual, a place where the noise of life paused and a father could just be a father. But that morning, something was different. As the doorbell chimed and the warm air welcomed them in, Ethan's eyes froze, his world tilted, his heartbeat stumbled, because sitting by the window with her familiar soft smile and those eyes he'd never forgotten was her, his first love, his lost love, the woman he once believed he'd spend forever with. Before we dive deeper into this unforgettable encounter, if you believe in kindness, love that returns when you least expect it, and second chances that life quietly plans for us, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. It helps us bring you more heart-touching stories like this one. For a moment, Ethan couldn't move. His hand trembled slightly as Lily tugged at his sleeve, her small voice asking if they could get her favorite hot chocolate. He blinked hard, trying to steady himself. Years had passed, almost 8 since he last saw Claire. She looked older now, but not in a sad way. Her beauty had only deepened, wrapped in quiet strength. There was a faint tiredness in her face, the kind that only life's battles could draw. She was alone, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly, looking out the window at the falling snow. She hadn't noticed him yet, and in that moment, Ethan's mind flooded with memories he had tried so hard to bury. The laughter they shared, the future they planned, and the storm that had torn them apart. 8 years ago, Ethan and Claire had been inseparable. They were high school sweethearts turned young dreamers, believing love could conquer everything. But when Ethan's father fell gravely ill, he had to move across the country to care for him. What was supposed to be a few months turned into years of distance, missed calls, and misunderstandings. Claire, heartbroken and unsure, thought Ethan had chosen a different path, one that didn't include her. By the time he returned, she was gone. No note, no message, just silence. Now fate had brought her back, or perhaps it was testing him. Lily's laughter snapped him back to the present. He forced a smile, guided her to their usual corner, and ordered their drinks. But his heart was restless. His hands couldn't stop trembling when he tried to open a sugar packet. Every second felt heavy with the weight of unspoken words. He tried to convince himself not to look, not to stare, but his eyes kept finding her. Claire finally looked up. Their gazes met. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. Recognition flickered in her eyes, followed by disbelief, then something softer, like a memory finding its way home. She hesitated, then offered a faint, uncertain smile. Ethan wanted to look away, but he couldn't. The air between them was filled with everything they had lost and everything they had never said. Lily noticed. She looked from her father to the woman by the window. "Daddy," she whispered with innocent curiosity, "do you know that lady?" Ethan swallowed hard, forcing a gentle laugh. I used to," he said quietly, his voice breaking. "A long time ago." The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Ethan tried to distract himself with Lily's chatter, but his thoughts were miles away. When Claire stood up to leave, his heart raced. He told himself to let her go, that the past was past. But as she reached the door, she paused, turned, and for a moment seemed unsure whether to walk away or return. Ethan stood. Without thinking, he called her name, softly, almost like a prayer. She froze. Slowly, she turned, and when she saw him standing there, the same warmth in his eyes, the same boy she'd once loved, her composure faltered. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. It had been so long, but his name still fit on her lips like it belonged there. They talked, at first awkwardly, carefully, as if afraid to disturb the ghosts between them. But then words began to flow, words that had been locked inside for years. Claire told him she had moved back to town recently, after caring for her mother through a long illness. She had thought of him often, but never imagined seeing him again. Ethan told her about Lily, about losing his wife 3 years ago to an accident that had shattered his world. Claire's eyes welled up with tears as she listened, her heart breaking for the man she had once known, and perhaps, deep down, never stopped loving. Lily, with her innocent charm, invited Claire to sit with them. It was strange how natural it felt, the three of them together. Claire and Lily bonded instantly. The little girl's laughter filled the cafe, softening the air around them. Ethan watched, quietly, as a sense of peace washed over him for the first time in years. He realized how much he'd missed this. Not just companionship, but connection, warmth, hope. Over the next few weeks, their paths kept crossing. Sometimes by accident, sometimes by quiet intention. They would meet at the cafe on weekends or at the park when Lily fed the ducks. Slowly, carefully, they began to rebuild something fragile but beautiful. Ethan found himself opening up in ways he hadn't in years, and Claire, after years of silence and solitude, felt her heart thawing. It was as if time had folded and fate was offering them one last chance. But love after heartbreak isn't simple. Ethan struggled with guilt. Guilt for moving on after his wife. Guilt for feeling something again. He wondered if it was right to let his heart heal when the past still lived inside him. Claire, too, battled her fears. She had been hurt once, not by cruelty but by distance, by fate. She was afraid to trust happiness again. What if it was taken from her, just like before? One evening it began to snow heavily. The city glowed under the streetlights as Ethan drove Lily home after her dance class. On the way, he noticed the cafe lights still on, warm against the cold night. Something inside him told him to stop. When he entered, he found Claire sitting alone again, reading a book, her hair falling gently over her face. She looked up, surprised, and smiled that same soft smile that had once stopped his heart. They sat together in silence for a while. Outside, snowflakes danced against the glass, and inside, something unspoken filled the air. Ethan finally broke the silence. "I thought I'd lost you forever," he said quietly, "and now, I don't even know what to say." Claire looked at him, her eyes shimmering. "Maybe we don't need to say anything," she whispered. "Maybe we just start again." That night, they talked until the cafe closed, about everything: love, loss, dreams, fears. It was raw, honest, and healing. When they finally said goodbye, Ethan walked out into the cold night feeling lighter, as if a long shadow had finally lifted. Days turned into weeks, and their bond deepened. Lily adored Claire, always asking when they could see her again. For the first time, Ethan's home felt alive. Laughter returned to rooms that had been silent for too long, and Claire, who had spent years feeling lost, found herself waking up every day with purpose again. One Sunday morning, at the same cafe where it all began, Ethan arrived early. He sat by the window, a small velvet box hidden in his pocket. When Claire walked in, the same sunlight fell across her face, and he knew this was the moment fate had been leading him toward all along. He stood up, took her hands gently, and said, "I don't know what the future holds, but I know this. Life gave me a second chance when I least deserved it, and I don't want to waste it." Claire's eyes filled with tears as she nodded, her smile trembling. It wasn't a grand proposal. There were no fireworks, no audience, just two souls finding their way back to where they belonged. Sometimes love doesn't end. It just gets lost for a while, waiting for the right time to return. Ethan and Claire learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting the past. It's about accepting that love, real love, can survive it. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that some people are meant to find each other again no matter how far life pulls them apart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe for more stories that speak to the soul. And before we end, tell us in the comments, do you believe love can find its way back, even after years of silence? We'd love to hear your thoughts, because sometimes the most beautiful stories aren't the ones we plan. They're the ones life writes when we least expect it.